Stop. We're good.
I got it.
Okay, you got it. Okay.
I got it.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
We are here today with Walt Lara. He's one of our senior Native American veterans, well respected among our 3 tribes on the Klamath River and Trinity River. And what we'd like to do next is get a good introduction from Walt, because he is such a special person and has so much knowledge. And we will get into the details about his other name besides Walt Lara Sr., which is the Black Snake. Walter, would you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Okay, next now. Okay, lay yes. Walt Lara Sr. I guess I say Walter James Lara, RA 1944-53-95, Sergeant.
There we go. Well, recently we've been working with some of our Native American veterans, and one of the things that has been very, very important that's been coming out in our discussions and our interviews is our service as Native American veterans to the United States of America. And when you went into the service, Walt, could you tell us a little bit about where you were at and some of the experiences you had as a young man?
Well, when I enlisted, I just turned 17. I was 17 years old in the day, and I enlisted into the Army Airborne Unassigned. And my first assignment was Fort Ord, where I took my basic training, and that was the 6th Army Division. And today it no longer exists because they deactivated it. And then from there I went to Fort Benning, Georgia for jump school, and took my jump school there at Fort Benning, Georgia. And then from there I went to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I was Fort Campbell, Kentucky. At that time it was Camp Campbell, and then it turned to Fort Campbell. And there's where I took my jump school, jump master training, and infantry combat training. And then I was what they call a cadre for training paratroopers. And also I did there at Fort Campbell the test jumps for the Green Berets, like jumping machine guns in Griswold containers and 30 caliber, and to see if it could be done.
Some of the veterans, Walt said you were also a jump master.
Yeah, I was a jump master. I was a jump master from two different schools, the red smoke and green smoke, and red light and the green light.
Walt, one of the things that recently happened with our veterans, and there's been a great deal of talk about, in 1991 you were working with me, and we wanted to do something special for our veterans here on the North Coast. And we decided that we would think about it a little bit, and then you recommended maybe putting together something for our veterans and using one of our ceremonial dugouts. Could you talk a little bit more about that first event, and then maybe how important it is, and what's happened recently with all the veterans being very, very moved by having an opportunity to ride in it and have a ceremonial veterans dugout, redwood dugout?
Well, the dugout is used for Othway Arch is its name, and it's we're Oth people. The canoe is Othway Arch because representation of our people. The redwood tree was blessed by the Creator, and so his order was that we could use the redwood for our houses, that's all way out, and the canoes all way out. And but we have to put the spirit of that in it, and so they're treated, the houses and the canoes are treated as our brother of our family. They're part of our family, and so they're treated as we would treat our brother or sister. And so we decided that we would put it in the Veterans Parade because it needed to be represented as something that we used in that time if we needed to use it to defend our people. They say that if your worst enemy is across the river, you get in that way out and you go across and you pick them up. You have to go pick them up and bring them across. And if they get hurt anyway on the way across, then you're liable for that. In old days, they used to have to pay off big money for something that happened in that situation.
That would be the old Indian law.
That's the Indian law, yeah.
Well, one of the things that's happened recently is we've been involved in the parades in the Central Cal area, and there have been a number of honor of veterans, which you were the first one. The parades have generated in excess of 40,000 people each time, and we have now been hearing from the parade commander in the city of Petaluma. They are very, very excited, happy to have our Native American from Sonoma County and Northern California participate in that parade. One of the big things that's happening is many of the people are coming out to see the veterans with the canoe. Can you tell me, in your experiences as a younger man in the military, did you ever have some interesting experiences when you were overseas with other veterans? There's an old story where a gentleman came out of a crowd and he had heard some singing somewhere. Could you refresh that story and talk about it a little bit? Well,
In the police action of the Korean War, the boys went. One of the boys was Cy Blake. He was in the Air Force for I think 8 years, and then he got out and he re-enlisted into the Army, and he was shipped to Korea, and he never came back alive. But another young man from Klamath, his name was Portuguese George. They called him Portuguese George. His name was George Maciel. He was shipped to Korea, and Buster Owens was over there, and Dave Drake, and Frankie Jake, and I'm trying to think, Lou Nova, and these are Army guys I'm talking about. But we also had Marines there too. Yeah, in Korea. We also had Marines there that were from our area too. But anyway, he got there and he got assigned to where he's supposed to go, and he just kind of lonesome there. This is Portuguese George, and he heard this singing going on over there. It was a brush dance song, like hey yo, and anyway, so he went over there, and there was all of his buddies, and so he didn't say a word, and they were singing and just singing, and all of a sudden he decided to jump in the middle, and so he jumped in the middle. He surprised them all. He was there with them too. The sad part about it. Portuguese George brought Cy Blake home.
It's okay, Walt.
Yeah, it's how tough you are doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Still, those things are sad that our people have put their life on the line, and in this day and age, we have our leadership of the United States of America denying sovereignty to our tribes,
Taking away the rights.
taking away our rights, destroying the earth, pipelines under our rivers. No environmental concept to the responsibility of the people. The Indian people's responsibility is to protect the environment. The prayers are always for the people, for the environment, for the fish, for the food, the deer, the elk, and the rivers, the clean air, the whole thing, the moon, sun, it's all there for Indian people. So that our representation for that protection is where we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to look at things. Don't take more than you need and share with other people what you have.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to talk a little bit more about was a lot of our Native American veterans, especially our people along the Klamath River and the Trinity River, sons and daughters that came from families with very little. The government, in doing what it did to the Indian people, in the fact that they keep taking, our sons and daughters still joined the service to protect this country. You have maybe a little more feeling. I'm emotional too because of the people we lost upriver, uncles and aunties that went off and never came home. Could you share a little bit more about your feelings on that, Walt?
Yeah, well, I knew an old lady. She was the oldest lady in our tribe, and she was a late Ella Norris. She lost a boy in World War II. And she said that she was in her 90s, and she said that wasn't a day that went by that she didn't think about him. And so that's just the way it is. And in Klamath, we had a family, the Sanderson family. They had 5 boys in the service, 5 stars hanging in that lady's window there. And so we had our number. We had there was another one, but he was a pilgrim. But that was the first cousins to the Sandersons. So that was that 6th one I was talking about. So anyway, I don't think in the old days here when I went in, Glenn Scott, he was in there. Glenn Scott's got 2 combat jumps, and he's probably one of our most decorated people that there is in our tribe. And Puzzy Dowd, poor old Puzzy, he's gone now, but he got home, and he was a paratrooper, and so there was a lot of them. I had an uncle in there, John White. He was in that place I was telling you about down there. Anyway, he got home okay, but he told us a lot of stories about World War II and New Guinea and all around down there where they were. And it just some things they talked about, like they never were going to come home again. It just was, that's how it was, how they looked at it, that they just did the best they could, and it was fortunate for them to get home.
One of the things that we've been doing with the Honor Vet, and this year it's back up here in Northern California. 2015 we honored the Nixon family. George Nixon was a veteran, and he's one of the white deerskin dance leaders. Walt, were you able to talk a little bit to their family after the event? Did they have anything to say, or were they?
Well,
happy?
they really appreciated it. It was great for them. It was great for that whole family. Just sadly, again, we lost the mother.
Another elder.
Yeah, we lost another elder there, but she got to be there, so that was good.
Yeah.
And that's what's good about this is it gives the family recognition to who they are because of their fathers or mothers.
In closing, Walt, one of the things that we wanted to do in our discussions to be able to provide and give this format for our veterans and the recognition that they are due for their service in the country, for their time away from families, especially those that were KIA, killed in action, those were WIA, wounded in action. For example, like my Uncle Shem, severely being wounded in the African campaign. My Uncle Henry getting one of the first killed, going in on Saipan.
Yeah. Well, you hear the mothers and the fathers. They feel bad about it, but they feel that that's what they want to do. And you notice we're probably just about all RAs, enlistees too. There's a very few drafted Indian people, and so they have a responsibility, and it's just how we felt during that time. But I don't know. I haven't. None of my children have gone into the service, so I really couldn't tell you how I would feel deeply. But I can tell you, my grandmother, when I came home, she said after I went down there where I enlisted and I came back, she said, "Well, now did you go in like your uncle was in the Air Force?" I said, "Geez, I couldn't lie to her." I said, "Yeah, it has something to do with planes." So she was pleased with that, because then she didn't worry about that. Because anyway.
She didn't know you were going to jump right into the battle, right?
Yeah, but what I did with my dad after my grandfather, I mean, when I came home on leave, I was gone maybe 2.5 years, something like that. And I come in the house, and he was sitting there watching TV. Then he had a round TV there, and he was watching it. And I told him, "Hey, how you doing?" And so anyway, I went in, talked to my grandmother a little bit. Then I went back out, and I said, "What are you watching?" He says, "Oh, I'm watching that crazy son of a bitch." He said, "It was Lucille Ball."
Redhead.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. He was pretty old then, but that's what he was, and that's what he said. So
I think what we're going to do now, Walt, is a lot of things that have been coming out, and one of the things that I have felt from the veterans, our Native American veterans that we have interviewed and talked to, is the camaraderie. It's more than just a handshake. You feel the brotherhood. You feel the emotion. We as veterans in the military service have a recognition for each other. And I have to say this gentleman right here is my best friend. And I don't have a tear in my eyes because of our friendship or the emotion, the times and the dances and all the things that we've been involved in, falling timber, talking about veterans, being involved in Indian politics, being involved with the Cemetery Protective Association, getting involved and getting some schooling and counseling from Walt's uncle, Milton Marks. He was one of my mentors. Walt's one of my mentors. But I want to make this perfectly clear. Because he's an Army guy and I'm a Marine, It's very seldom an Army guy can make a Marine have a tear and feel emotion like that. So, to my best friend, Walt Lara, thank you for your service. You're an honored veteran from the United States of America.
Well, thank you too, even if you are a Marine. See, I had to get the last word in.
Even if you are a Marine. Okay. Oh, God. I knew this was going to be a tough one.